I didn't hit record and I've been talking for 5 minutes. Today I am continuing my quest of building up my fantasy wardrobe. Something that I've wanted for a long time is just a few more options to wear to Renaissance fairs or during photo shoots, and what better time than the present to just make a couple of items that would work for those things. Last month I made an orange pumpkin spice inspired slip dress, and from that project I have quite a bit of scrap fabric left. I'd like to utilize that scrap fabric and turn it into something that I'll actually wear. My idea is like fall, fairy, orange, gold, maybe some red. Yeah, that's my idea. That's it. That's all we're going off of. I don't have a drawing, I don't have a reference image, I just have a couple scrap pieces of fabric and time. So let's go. I started off with making the corset, and because I'm using complete scraps to make this entire corset, I had to be very strategic with how I placed my pattern pieces. I carefully pin and stitch all of the panels together, being very mindful to keep my seam allowances even. Once I've sewn all the panels together, I pin the lining to the outside fabric, right sides together, and sew across the top. Next, I top stitch the seam allowance to the lining fabric. Doing this ensures that the lining won't roll over onto the orange satin and show through on the finished garment. It's important to go really slow and take your time while doing this. You want it to look as nice as possible. The next step is to sew the boning channels. I like to use the pre-existing seams as a guide for where the bones will go. Then I measure, cut, sand, and insert the plastic zip ties that I'm using as boning. Lastly, I like to close the bottom of the corset by stitching on some bias binding. I wanted to add off the shoulder sleeves, so I'm just measuring how much fabric that will take. And I ended up just using a very standard rectangle and then ironing it and adding pleats into it because I thought that added texture would fit the vibe. And then it was time to figure out how to use just scraps to make an entire skirt, and I went with a circle skirt, and it's kind of short because I don't have a whole lot of fabric to work with. I had to piece it together the best that I could, which means it's not perfect, but it's kind of got like, you know, its own character to it. I pretty much just pieced all of those little sections together and serged and sewed them until I had a circle skirt. Ironing the wrinkles out of your fabric immediately elevates whatever it is you've made. So this is where I'm at now. I've got the skirt and the little corset over it. I'm thinking something like this for the sleeves because I like the pleats in it, but then I'm like, is it really gonna work? Does it look okay? When I had this on the mannequin, I did not like it. I thought it was really plain and boring and I wanted to cover this in leaves, and now, like, seeing it on my body, I think this is it. I think this is it. Like, let's just cut it off. Let's edit it here. This is done. Like, I don't want to add anything more to it because it's just so cute. And I don't want to ruin this top. And now I'm going to attempt and make some fairy wings, which is a thing that I've never done using this method. I traced out kind of what I wanted them to look like. I got my tools and my wire, and I just started shaping the aluminum wire to the drawing that I, put down on this cardboard. In hindsight, cardboard was the wrong material to use. I should have used silicone or like a cutting board, something plastic, because I'm going to be gluing all of those ends of the wires together, and it just really, really stuck to the cardboard. Like it should, because that's the way that those materials work together. But this took me about an hour to get the frame down on one side, and I did end up doing it twice because I wanted 2 sides of wings. I recommend that you use an ample amount of glue to make sure that these pieces of wire just absolutely stick together. However, I recommend using glue and either holding it above the surface you're working on or gluing onto a surface where the glue will just easily peel off. Once all of the glue was dried, I peeled off all the little pieces of tape that I was using to hold the wires down, and then set about the near impossible task of separating the wire wing frame from this treacherous cardboard box. I was able to pop a few of them off with just my fingernails, but some of these glue dots are so secured onto the cardboard that I ended up just using an X-Acto knife to slice them out. This caused a few problems. First of all, I now have gigantic holes in my template, and there's like ugly cardboard on the back side of each of these little glue dots, and that's just unfortunate. I was able to pick a lot of the cardboard off of the glue, and then I tried to trim the glue dots down a little bit, but then it was time to start the next set, and I tried to cover the holes with some tape, thinking that would maybe work a little bit better, especially some of these really big holes.
I am ready for round 2.
And to my complete surprise, the glue did not stick as strongly onto the pieces of tape as it did onto the cardboard, so that's a win.
What is this? I bought this because I thought it was like holographic, like rainbow. It's just clear. There's nothing special about it, but it's what I have, so it's what I'll use. For the record, I am disappointed by this.
Now that the frames are done, it's time to spray glue the plastic onto both sides of the frame. I recommend you do this in a well-ventilated area, like the outside. Don't just do this in your house. It gets real fumey real fast. Once the glue is dry, I cut around the frame and I leave about ½ an inch of space so that the outside is still stuck together. And then I use a heat gun to kind of shrink wrap the plastic around the metal frame. Lastly, I attach the two wings together in a U shape by twisting the wires around each other. And then, because we've got some real pokey edges going on here, I decided to wrap it in tape, but athletic tape would have been a better choice than just masking tape.
%1,000% yes. 1000% yes. When I was a kid, I used to watch this show. I would wake up really early in the morning. Like, we're talking 6:30 in the morning, and that's early for an 8-year-old, just so that I wouldn't miss the Winx Club. This is definitely the kind of outfit one of those characters would wear. I, like many of you, was at first very disappointed in the fashion choices of the Winx Club Netflix show, because this is what I wanted. This is it. I wanted the wings and the satins and like the cute aesthetic. And instead we got what we got. And I'm not going to complain about it because I have enjoyed the show so far. But this, yes. 100% yes. Living my fairy dreams. Absolutely loving it. Things I would do different. Okay, so when I put these on the mannequin, I hadn't tried it on yet. And then when I tried it on and it was just pinned, I was like, this is great, we're going with it. But what ended up happening is the angle of attachment is wrong up here, and so it does end up pulling the front of the corset down a little bit. And I'm not too mad because the inside of this is coordinating colors. However, next time I do this technique, I will 100% make sure that I try everything on before and after sewing it. It's just one thing I think all sewists kind of struggle with, is we get tired of trying things on. We just want to like move, you know? In this case, it wasn't a super big deal. Let's talk about the wings really quick. The wings are, in my brain, I wanted these to be orange. Well, they didn't have any orange translucent cello paper. They only had this kind, which I thought was going to be like a rainbow, and it is just white. I'm not mad about it because I think it's very neutral and I can use it for other looks. However, next time I'd like to make a new set with like a different color, or maybe putting some glitter inside the two layers before I fuse them together. All in all, I'm pretty happy with it because this is the first time I've ever made wings like this, and I'm not gonna complain. Like, I'm stoked with how they turned out. They are semi-symmetrical, which is great, and they just tuck right in the back of the corset right here. They literally just slide right down in there. The skirt ended up being a little bit short, which in true Winx fashion is accurate,
But in a real life application, you will never see me wear this skirt outside the home unless I find a way to add something to the bottom of it, because the Arctic shelf is nearly exposed and I'm not down for that. If you enjoyed this content, this is your formal invitation to like and subscribe. More videos are on their way soon. In this house, we craft in pajamas.